Hello, welcome back to 10 at 10. My name is Michael Ramage. I'm the director of the Cyber Education Research Center here at Murray State University, and welcome back to 10 at 10. 10 at 10 is brought to you through a partnership between Murray State University, Grow West, the Technology Council of West Kentucky, KY Innovation, and our local partner, Sprocket Innovation in Paducah, and the Kentucky Innovation Station in Madisonville. Last week, we talked about the Russia Ukraine conflict and how that is impacting our small businesses, our organizations, and I want to pick back up on that. First of all, um, just the last couple of days, CISA, the organization that we talked about last week, that provides a lot of that guidance and is that government incident cybersecurity incident response organization. Uh, they put out a statement this week that continued the shields up status. They actually are even being more assertive in encouraging organizations to be ready for some sort of cyber attack from Russia. Again, I have no inside knowledge on this, but I would anticipate that most of the attacks that would come from some sort of attack from Russia would be targeted against that critical infrastructure that we talked about last week. But there also is going to be supply chain attacks and ransomware attacks and those types of attacks that might not be directly at your organization, but could have an impact on your organization. So be ready for that and prepare for that, which brings us to this week and what I wanted to talk about with you this week is backups. Backups is one of those things that we listed last week that your organization needs to do to make sure that you're ready and you're prepared in case your organization comes under some sort of a cyber attack. Now, it might be a virus, it might be ransomware. There's a lot of different things that it could be, but one of the most important lines of defense is that you have a backup just in case something happens. So, what's the backup strategy that you could have? There's a standard backup strategy. 3-2-1 is what it's called. You want to create 3 copies of your data. You want to have that data on 2 different storage media, and at least one of those copies should be offsite. That's kind of the standard backup strategy. So let me dig into that just a little bit. So why 3 copies? One is the original. One is the original that you're working on right now. So obviously you're going to have that copy. You're going to have the copy that you're working on. Then one is your backup. Obviously, if you're backing up your data, then you should always have a backup of the original. Just in case you accidentally delete a file, just in case you accidentally alter a file in a way that you didn't mean to, you have that backup copy. If your organization has done backups for some amount of time, then you have probably had a file that has been corrupt, a file that has not backed up properly. So having a backup to the backup is important, just in case that data gets corrupted, that one backup gets corrupted, that you at least have 2 copies, 2 backup copies of that, so that you have your original or your primary backup, and then you have a secondary backup. Um, it may sound like a lot, but it's very important because there are instances when that backup is not going to restore properly. So having a second backup is important. Why 2 different formats? Well, what if your hard drive fails? What if all of your 3 backups or your 3 copies are on one hard drive and that hard drive fails? Well, now you have lost all your backup copies. What if you get hit with ransomware and all of your copies are connected to your computer, so they get encrypted as well? Having uh, multiple copies on multiple formats, multiple storage media is important to make sure that your data is handled correctly. You don't want it to all be connected to your network. If it's all connected to your network and you're logged into the account that does the backups, which is a bad idea as well, then all of your files, all of your backup files are going to be encrypted as well, and so that's a really bad idea. And I could cite a couple of local organizations within our region that have been hit with ransomware, And when they did, their backups got encrypted as well, which forced them to pay the ransom. So you don't want to do that. And then why one offsite backup? I think this is probably the easiest and most obvious for you to understand is, what if there's a natural disaster? What if there's a tornado? What if there's a fire? What if there's an earthquake? What if there's a flood? What if something happens to that primary site that you can't get there? How are you going to get access to your backup data? If you can't actually get to your files, then does it matter if you've backed up? No, not really. So most organizations will drive one somewhere else, store it off site. Some even store it off in a cave, uh, uh, in different areas around the state. Just something to make sure that if there's a natural disaster where your primary data is, that there's a backup location somewhere else. That there's a lot of folks that got hit with the tornado that are trying to find ways to get their business back up and operating. Those that had offsite backups are finding it easier than others, just from a data standpoint. There's a lot of other issues, obviously, but from a data standpoint. So you want to make sure you have that offsite backup as well. So how do you do that? Now, there's some traditional backup cycles where you do full backups on a weekly basis. Some will do it only on a monthly basis, but best practice is you do a full backup on a weekly basis, full copy of all files. So now when I say all files that are being backed up, you've got to make sure you're backing up all the relevant files, whether it's the entire system, it's all the files on the server, it's all the files in your document folders, whatever it is. It's a full backup on Sundays. A lot of times they'll do it Sunday morning, like at 2 o'clock in the morning, because that's when the network is being used the least, and they can use the resources, and it makes it as non-invasive as possible for users. And then during the week, a lot of people either do differential or incremental backup. So a differential backup would be all the files changed since last backup. So if you backed up your entire system on Sunday and then Monday, you edited 4 files, those 4 files would be the 4 files that are backed up Monday night. And then if you changed another 6 files on Tuesday, then those 4 plus those 6 would be changed or would be backed up on Tuesday. And it works like that throughout the week. The other way that you can do it is incremental backups. And incremental backups copies only the files that have changed since the last full, or I made a mistake there, or incremental backup, not differential. So it just backs up what's changed each day. So those are the 3 ways that people do it. Now, a lot of people are starting to change it and using the cloud for backup. And I actually don't disagree with that approach. Um, it is really easy to back up to the cloud. There's some things to keep in mind if you're doing that. First of all, don't use the same account for everything. If you're logged in with the same account that's backing up files that you would use for your daily login, then you have the potential of accidentally corrupting your backups as well. But you do want to automate it. You don't want to be reliant on an individual to click backup each day. You want it to automate. However that looks, however it integrates into your existing systems, you want to make sure that happens. Get policies and retention right. One of the things that happens is that you don't know if a file gets corrupted that you're using. You don't know how long it's been since that file's corrupted. So you want to make sure that you have data that's being backed up long enough that you can get back to a clean file if you need to restore from a backup. You also may have legal reasons that you need to back up from a certain standpoint. Maybe you're under certain laws like FERPA or HIPAA that you need to retain records. So make sure that you are following all those appropriate laws as well. Keep in mind where your data is being stored. If you're using a cloud storage solution, make sure that your data is being stored in a jurisdiction that you can manage. For example, if you're using one cloud storage provider, is it actually staying in the United States? Do you have a legal requirement to keep that data in the United States? You got to keep an eye on that. Make sure the data is being stored with data safety in mind. Make sure it's being encrypted. Keep an eye on the price. Sometimes the pricing, it can look like it's not very much, but once you get into it and you realize that with multiple backups each night and data and each week, and the total file size gets to be really big, that price can get really high. And then finally, think about how it integrates with the public cloud. And what I mean by that is that if you're using a private company to back up your data to the cloud, what if their system goes down? If their system's not very large, then you're going to have the same risk that you would have with your organization with this other organization. But if they're using AWS to back up to the public cloud, or to a larger system, then that might be better. Again, keep in mind where the data is being stored and what jurisdiction it's under and those types of things. But I do think that backing up to the cloud is a good idea, especially for a small organization that has limited technology technical staff. I think it's a good idea. Anyway, make sure you're backing up. Whatever the system is that you're using, make sure that you're doing it. Make sure it's being checked on a regular basis. Make sure that you're backing up your data so that if you do get hit with ransomware or a virus or some sort of outage, that you have those files to go back to. All right, that's 10 at 10 for today. I appreciate you joining us, and join us back here on 10 at 10 next week. Have a good day. Thank you. Bye.